Hi guys, it's Ayelet. I am just here I am. Okay, it is Sunday at 9:30, August 27th, 2017, and I'm really excited to be here with you guys. This is awesome. This is our very first live Q&A, and a few of you submitted some questions, and I'm happy to answer those and just chat about really anything we want. I'd love to ask you guys how you're enjoying the library, the content so far, and what you think of it and what you think could be added. You may have noticed that in the let's see, the development and activities section, I've been sort of slowly adding a few things to that. I used to have and still have for current people who are on the program, a curriculum called The Heart of It, which is an infant enrichment program or curriculum, with information about your infant and then simple activities that you could do sort of on a weekly basis. But I'm sort of folding that into the library slowly but surely. So, and then adding on into the toddler years. So that is something that's sort of slowly being added to as well. And I hope that those of you who are benefiting from the heart of it, who are also in the library, are excited to see that content here as well. So you can sort of get to it in different places and then also, have that supplemented with additional ideas and information through the family enrichment session. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to email me at ayelet@strengthenwords.com. But let me get to the first question, which I have from one of you. Basically, this came from the mother of a 10-month-old who is looking for a few tips on communication and play, and said that her son is more into exploring than playing games. So this is sort of a common concern, I guess. I mean, it is a concern, and it's a totally valid concern. Because we, as grown-ups, we think that play is supposed to look a certain way, and it is. Play is supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to be you and your child having a good time. That's what play is, right? It is exploration. So I think there are ways that we can maximize sort of the amount of communication that goes into the play, and then to maximize ways to explore with your child to help that shape into exploration through interactive play when that's appropriate. And then sometimes it's great to have a child exploring through play on their own, right? It's nice when you can just sort of sit back and watch your child play independently. That's a wonderful thing too. With Strength in Words, so much of my focus is on that interaction with you and with your small child, and sort of creating and helping to form and strengthen that bond between the two of you. But it's also important to think about those times when you can sort of sit back and enjoy your child, watch your child, and just sort of sit back and be present as a sort of viewer. But okay, so what are some ways that we can brainstorm together to get more sort of interaction into the exploration part of play? So at 10 months, you're going to have a lot of, a child who is sort of typically developing is going to start to probably be exploring toys and objects in their space and in their environment in lots of different ways, and not necessarily in the sort of typical ways that we right, we use them, right? Like blocks are not going to be for stacking necessarily for a 10-month-old. They're more likely to be sort of mouthed and maybe thrown or knocked down. So the ways that we can, in that sort of example, help to make that interaction more, I guess, interactive, more that play more interactive, is if you have, say, a set of blocks or a few, even, you know, a few like empty, what's it called? Empty like Tupperware or snackware containers. Even like if they fit inside each other as stacking or nesting boxes, or if they just, you know, can stack on top of each other, then you can certainly model the stacking of those blocks on top of each other. And then if your child looks like all they want to do is smack it down, then that is going to be the activity, right? Maybe you can sort of reframe yourself so that you're talking about, okay, I'm going to stack another. I'm going to stack another. I'm going to stack another. How many can I stack before you knock it down? And you can see their swipe coming, right? You can sort of anticipate that that's what's going to happen next. And it's that anticipation of you sort of getting a sense of what they want and what they're going to do before they do it. That's part of what's teaching them about communication, right? You're sort of anticipating their needs by looking at their body language and maybe their vocalizations and maybe their verbalizations as well for an older child. But when you are able to sort of read your child and read what it is that you think they want, then one thing you can do is to verbalize that desire for them, so that you're giving them the language input and language stimulation, and you're also meeting them at their level, and you're expecting that they're going to be, you know, playing with objects where they want to be and how they want to be, but not necessarily how you want to play with them, right? I think that is really sort of the key to play through exploration. So that's one thing that I could suggest. Another thing that I think, let's see, is really important to think about is, let's see, we want to make sure that when we present any kind of new activity or when we're talking to our child, that we're meeting them where they are and then thinking about what sort of one tiny step beyond that is going to be, right? So in that example of playing with blocks, you're not only anticipating what your child is going to want to do with them, and if you can't anticipate, that's fine too. You're just sort of verbalizing what they're doing, perhaps. But if they sort of swipe or whack those blocks down, or if all they want to do is throw the blocks, then you're going to want to channel that energy into some specific direction, right? If you don't like that they're throwing blocks, then you're going to want to encourage that maybe they throw them into a bowl or into a bin or whatever it is. Or if you don't want them to throw inside, then maybe you can go outside and throw the blocks, right? And so you're establishing from early on that there are sort of rules of engagement and appropriate things, and redirecting your child in a way that is meeting their needs and anticipating, you know, that you don't want them to have a meltdown. You don't want to take the object away necessarily, but you want them to be able to play with it at their level. Now, you also want to be able to you know, give them the stimulation that they need at their level and just slightly above. So for instance, if your child is, every time they're about to whack it, you might say out loud, "Oh, looks like you want to knock it down." and you provide that verbal input for them. So just because, so they're providing a gesture that is providing communication information to you about their sort of communicative intent, which is that they're going to knock it down, and you're providing the verbal model. You're providing what they would say if they could say it. I recently had did an interview with Carrie Clark, who's a speech and language pathologist, and we talked a bit about strategies like this in that interview. It's a podcast episode called 5 Strategies to communicate with your young infant or toddler, or with your young child. And you can find that on the podcast on Strength in Words here on the website. That there are a few other great recommendations that she had that we discussed. Let's see. I'm going to go back in over here to the chat, and I'm going to sort of join the chat here. Here. Go ahead and sign in and introduce yourself. So I can see that there is somebody on with me. If you can get on the chat, go ahead and write in your name and tell me who's here and where you're from and what's going on. Because I'd love to hear from you. If there's a problem and you can't get on, I'm really sorry about that. I wish that there was a better way that we could sort of figure that out. One thing that I'm thinking about as far as going forward with the library and how we do these workshops is I am considering sort of taking it off sort of webinar format and putting it straight into Facebook. I know, we do also have this sort of community that's currently a forum within the library, but I think it may be better suited for a Facebook group, a private Facebook group. So if that's something that you guys are interested in and would prefer, if you're already on Facebook and you use Facebook a lot, then that might be something that you prefer. Hi, Rachel. Oh, good. Thanks for saying hi. Yay. Nursing, listening, perfect. Good. Awesome. And probably one-handedly texting and writing. So that's great. As you can see, there's a little bit of a delay, about 10-second delay from my reaction to what you've written. But anyway, yeah, so I am very, very interested in hearing what you guys want and what you think will work. Yep, one-handedly texting. That's it. That's how we do it. I don't know. I think my toddler now is when I tell him I only have 2 hands. I'm sorry, I can't do it right now. You're gonna have to wait. He then responds with, "No, Mama, you have 8." So apparently I am an octopus to him. I guess that's a compliment, that he thinks that I can do it all. So maybe I should be feel good about that, but sometimes I just want to put it all down. Anyway, okay, so that was my big answer to my big question, which is how to explore through play with my child, and why is my child not into playing? He mostly wants to explore. So again, exploration really is play, especially at that age. Now, when you hit around the 12-month mark, around the 1-year mark, that's when things change a little bit, right? Anyone of you who has a toddler now can see that around that age, infants become toddlers, and part of what that means, from a cognitive and social perspective, is that they're starting to understand more about symbolic play, what's known as symbolic play, which is really using, part of that is using objects to symbolize other objects or social routines, for instance. You might, so they can sort of see that objects are being used as tools, right? So for instance, one good example is I had one of those like little ball drops that you put the ball in, and then it sort of goes down through a little slide and comes out, right? And before my son, who's now 3.5, before he turned 1, he would just sort of like play with the ball and maybe watch me put it in and get really excited about how it moved and sounded and stuff like that. But he himself was not understanding the sort of cause and effect of like, if I put this ball in and I push it down and it goes all the way out and then it comes out, then I can do it again and again and again, right? So that's cause and effect. That's understanding sort of problem solving and understanding what's going to happen next. And testing whether or not it's going to happen the same way again. And that's why, you know, those balls are different colors, and maybe they go through through different funnels, and they all end up in the same place, right? That is your child starting to learn, like, oh my God, if I do this, this happens. But if I change it a little bit and do this, it still happens, right? So around that sort of becoming a toddler phase, you're going to really see a lot of testing happening in lots of different ways. Some of it better and some of it presenting it not so beautifully, right? That testing behavior is interesting as well, and can be testing of, you know, the rules of gravity when we drop things, or testing of how we're going to react as parents and caregivers to positive and negative behavior. So the point is, though, that they are starting to use these tools or object as tools. So you might see a block suddenly go from just a child just being interested in sort of knocking them down, throwing them, mouthing them, to then being used as a symbol of, like, for instance, maybe you have a baby doll or a stuffed bear or something. Maybe all of a sudden you can model that block, like, ooh, do you want you want your bear to eat some lunch? I'm going to eat my lunch. And then you might see your child imagining that block can be used to symbolize a piece of food, right? It's not just, a block is not just a block. It can also be a pretend food item. Now, this is just sort of an emerging skill at, you know, around the year mark. So you may not see your child initiate that, but they are starting to understand that objects are used for lots of different reasons, and something can be symbolic of something else, right? So you might see, by about 18 months, you're going to see that a lot more. You're going to see more of like that sort of imaginary, dramatic, and symbolic play where, you know, you might say a classic example of like a tea party where all of those, your child would then grab the blocks and put them on a table and say, here's your cupcake, here's my cupcake, here's my cupcake, or whatever it is. And then actually initiate their imagining of the, you know, cupcakes, the blocks as cupcakes. So they would initiate that. But around the age of 12 months, you're going to start to see your child sort of be like curious about if you are going to introduce the block to pretend that it's something else. So all of those are sort of these really interesting ways that our children's brains are always ever changing and always growing, and they move through all these different stages, and the more we can be sort of aware of those stages and the changes and how they work, the more we can support them. And that's really what, you know, the goal of the content within the library is. So Rachel, if you have one hand to text and you have any questions or comments, either about the stuff that we've talked about today or about any sort of questions you have about the library, I'd love to hear anything you have to say. And also, I'll be emailing all you guys. I'm trying not to bombard you because I know you are busy and I know you get a lot of emails, but I want to make sure that I'm serving your needs the best I can. So, and since this is the first, you know, Q&A session and we are early days still in the library. I want to make this library exactly what you want, and I want you to get the most out of it. So you guys are my sort of founding members, and I want to really gear it to what you want to get out of it. So again, thank you so much for putting your trust in the Enrichment Library, and I really hope that you're enjoying it so far. And I can't wait to keep doing these sessions with you guys. Since I started the library and had my first members sort of midway through the month or early-ish in the month, I wanted to get an August Q&A session in, but in the next few days you'll see a new the September Family Enrichment session coming up as well, and I would like to schedule another one of these as well for sort of early to mid-September, so that we can make sure that we get those in on a regular basis. Obviously, they're going to be, but so basically, I'm going to email you guys with a survey about what your preferences are, as far as a few questions I have about just the sort of logistics stuff with the library, how you want these to be done, whether you would prefer the community to be in the sort of on the Family Enrichment Forum directly, or whether you would prefer that in a Facebook group, and whether you think these sort of live sessions are better served here on the what's it called, on the website, on the library, or if you would prefer those to be actually in, say, a Facebook group, like a Facebook live session. I think a lot of people are now pretty familiar with Facebook Live, so it's going to just be determined by what you guys think and what you prefer. And then there is a way that once those are done, I can transfer them and upload them onto the library site, and then they will be housed, archived in the library here. So I am going to sign off in the next few minutes. Rachel, again, last chance. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to talking to you guys more. Thanks again for being here. Should we sing a goodbye song? Let's do it. All right. Thanks for being here. See you later. What will you do the rest of your day? Goodbye, Ayelet. Goodbye, Rachel. Goodbye, everyone. See you next time. We laughed and we played. We're getting very clever. This is what counts, being here together. All right. Thanks so much. Thanks, Rachel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.